NATO is starting its biggest ever air drills. The exercises take place over 10 days. They involve 10,000 troops and 250 aircraft from 25 countries. Most of the drills are in Germany. Authorities say the deployment may cause flight delays and cancellations for holidaymakers across Europe. It's unclear how Russia will respond.
This is the airspace above the Atlantic. Each yellow dot represents a scheduled flight on a typical weekday. But now there will be even more air traffic. The exercises envisage several scenarios against a fictitious enemy. For this purpose, the military will alternately close 3 rotating flight regions over Germany for several hours at a time over a period of 10 days. The goal is deterrence.
I proposed this exercise 2018 here in the US after taking over the Air Force as chief of the Air Force. So that was already my perception after what happened in Crimea, that Russia invaded Crimea. We knew, okay, we have to much more be focused on the way how to defend the alliance.
That includes defending the eastern flank of the alliance. During the maneuver, fighter jets will fly daily to Estonia and Romania, and thus to their border with Russia and Ukraine, where fighting is taking place in the east and south. U.S. air power merging with European weapon systems. Germany has the leading role in this maneuver. The Bundeswehr is responsible for organizing and supplying its NATO partners.
When Germany decided to lead it, we were in full support, obviously, as one of our strongest allies and partners, and obviously our partner in NATO. And they've conducted operations with us for decades now. And so it was easy for us to decide to come and support the German Air Force.
According to the drill, the enemy is also attacking from the sea, with warships backed up by fighter planes. Meanwhile, civilian air traffic will continue on and off around the 3 zones of airspace designated for the drill. All of this in the vicinity of civilian airports. The exercises include high-altitude flight training and takeoff and landing practice. It's designed as a deliberate stress test for German air traffic controllers. The aim is to avoid canceling civilian flights. For 10 days, the fighter jets have the right-of-way, as NATO's Air Defender 23 holds sway in the skies over Europe.
And over to our very own Terry Schultz. The biggest drills for NATO air forces. What's that tell us, Terry?
Well, Ben, when we hear that this practice was 4 years in the making, it certainly makes you think back to the invasion of Crimea. And even at that point, though, I don't believe that allies really thought that Russia would ever invade Ukraine, invade one of its neighbors, as it's doing now. So certainly as this exercise was in its planning phases, it would have evolved to react exactly to what we've seen Russia do now. So while this has been long in the works, I think it definitely takes on more importance now, especially for those Eastern allies. As you heard in that report, they really want reassurance from the air. We never know what Russia's going to do next, and that's what this exercise is designed to reassure the allies about.
But is there any concern that this could provoke an even harder response from Moscow in Ukraine?
You used to hear that a lot, Ben. You'll remember when Germany wasn't sending tanks fast enough. It used to say that it didn't want to appear to be escalating the conflict. You really don't hear that from allied leaders anymore. But I would note that NATO has been careful to say that it will not be sending its fighter jets in the direction of Kaliningrad. That's this enclave between Poland and Lithuania that's held by Russia. So it's Russian territory right in the middle of NATO territory. And they very much want to remind Russia that NATO is a deterrent alliance and not an attack alliance. And that's why they're mentioning Kaliningrad so prominently. They want to make sure that Russia cannot use this as an excuse. That doesn't mean the Kremlin won't try.
Here we have a good example of NATO bearing what it's capable of, showing what it can do. How well equipped would you say the alliance is to defend itself?
Well, the war in Ukraine certainly has focused minds like never before on exactly what readiness the alliance is at. This has been a big problem that sure, people have equipment sitting in their, in their airfields, but can they use it? And even more importantly, can they get it to where it would be needed quickly? This is always a problem for the alliance, military mobility. And as much as you can plan, you never really know where the gaps are until you stage an exercise like this. And they always find places where they could be doing something better, or sometimes even where things are completely stuck because they can't get through, for example, not with air defense, but a tunnel or something like this. This is very important, and this is why the exercises are so crucial, especially now when those Eastern allies are very nervous that NATO may actually have to send its resources to defend them at any moment, given the unpredictability of the Kremlin. So I would say after this exercise, NATO is going to be prepared in an unprecedented way for whatever may come next.
Thank you very much for the analysis. Terry Schultz there for us in Brussels. Let's have a closer look at these drills then with Benjamin Alvarez-Gruber. He's there at Wunstorf Air Base in Lower Saxony, the logistics base of these drills. Tell us more about the scale of the exercises, Benjamin.
That's right. Even though we're not in one of the areas where these exercises will take place, Wunstorf Air Base is the logistical base when it comes to getting planes from the US to Germany with the Air National Guard, to getting the servicemen. 10,000 are taking part in these exercises, but also when it comes to refueling. So here in Wunstorf, they installed a base for the refueling of the planes. We will not see fighter jets here, but we already have seen many takeoffs, landings, and also many planes and spotters also making their way here to the airbase to see the start of this exercise.
Benjamin, what sort of signal will this send against the backdrop of the war in Ukraine?
It's important to point out that this exercise was initiated by Germany in 2018. We have the chief of the German Air Force, Ingo Gerhardt, who said that this was planned far before Russia's invasion of Ukraine. What the signal that they want to send is that the alliance is together, that they have the capability of sending 100 airplanes from the US. There are 250 taking a part in this exercise, that they will defend every inch of NATO territory. And that's also what they said during the press conference when they started and when they presented this exercise, with more than 25 countries taking part, and some of them not even NATO countries.
And what will this mean for regular air traffic here in Europe?
That's one of the big questions. What the German Air Force is saying is that they want to try to minimize this as most as it possible. But of course, there will be 3 different areas where planes will be flying. They will not fly at the same time. There will be changes there. Of course, they try to minimize it. But of course, we are expecting some delays when it comes to air traffic, because this flights, probably you'll see a plane landing now right behind me, because these flights will take on for several days. They're starting today on the 12th. They will continue until the 23rd. And what they'll try to do is to mitigate the effect that this might have on civil aviation.
Benjamin Alvarez-Gruber at Wunstorf Air Base. Thank you.